Hi, and welcome to a presentation about Libraries NI. I did research on Libraries NI while I was studying abroad in Belfast, and I was able to speak with some great people in the organization, and they sent me a lot of great information that I'm going to share with you today. So first, let's talk a little bit about what Libraries NI is. It is sort of the umbrella organization that covers the entirety of public libraries in Northern Ireland. It is also known as the Northern Ireland Library Authority. It was established in April of 2009 as the result of the Review of Public Administration. They are primarily responsible for the provision of public library services, which essentially means they're in charge of all of the services that the libraries provide in Northern Ireland. They report directly to the Department of Culture, Arts, and Leisure, which I think is both strange and unique. The board that makes up Libraries NI consists of one chairperson and 18 members. Their core services cover reading and reader development, support for learning and learning initiatives, access to information, cultural and creative development, and heritage and digitization. We got to see a lot of the digitization projects at the Central Library, the Belfast Central Library. So first, let's talk about the Stage 1 review. I received a lot of documentation about the Stage 1 review, so I'm going to try and summarize it here for you. Now, Northern Ireland has, well, during this time, had probably close to 100 libraries, but the Stage 1 review focuses on libraries in the greater Belfast area. This was sort of their first step into a revision of libraries throughout Northern Ireland. So 32 libraries were included in this review and were criticized based on 4 criteria. Whether they were fit for the purpose that they were intended based on their surroundings, if they were capable of delivering on the new vision that Libraries NI wanted to establish. Location, that was a big issue because there are such large clusters of libraries together around Belfast. They had to consider whether there were multiple libraries should be put into one. And then also sustainability as far as whether the library is used and the building itself, is it sustainable? And just to give you a few reasons why they wanted to do this review, essentially it was the first time since 1973 that they had the opportunity to conduct a review of the entire public library service. There were no longer any boundaries or constraints that had been placed by the former education board, and they identified that there was a need for more suitable buildings, more effective use of staff in customer support capacity, and really they just wanted to restructure and streamline the services. So after the review took place, these are their findings. These libraries in the greater Belfast area met the criteria for future use. You might recognize a few of them: Cardiff, Hollywood, and a few others. And these libraries were identified as being capable of delivering the services and the vision that Libraries NI wanted, but they either needed new buildings, refurbishment, something just needed to be done so that they could work. These two libraries were found to just be clustered too close together. There wasn't a need for them, for both libraries to be there. And this is a long list. Libraries that were under consideration to be closed. That is quite a list. There were a lot that either just were run down, weren't used based on the statistics that they reviewed, and a lot of other things. And they just didn't fit in with the new vision. So now let's discuss the vision that Libraries NI has for the future of public libraries. Libraries have a key role to play in communities as centers where people of all ages can receive support with learning, access to information, exploring their cultural heritage, or just to simply spend time doing what's commonly done at a library, reading, finding books, and other media. They also believe that it is their duty to provide a greater range of books and other resources, provide longer hours, have attractive and welcoming, well-designed and equipped buildings that people will want to visit. Because statistics is a huge part of librarianship. You want to get people in the door, and a rundown library isn't going to get people in the door. So in order to realize this vision, Libraries NI proposed to develop a network of libraries across Belfast with enhanced services and materials that are available. They wanted libraries to be open for a minimum of 30 hours per week, which would be 10 hours outside of the normal business hours that they were offering before. They also want to provide a wide range of materials and in a variety of formats, such as local history resources and community spaces, computer terminals, and free internet access, and one-on-one support from staff, and regular activities that support the 4 themes that Libraries NI is based around: learning, culture, information, and heritage. They also wanted to create zoned areas for teens or quiet study spaces, and larger libraries that open for a minimum of 50 hours a week. They also wanted to revitalize the special collections, such as microfilm, other media collections, provide specialist ICT facilities, Wi-Fi facilities, cafes, RFID, meeting rooms, dedicated exhibition space, and, well, honestly, the list goes on and on. I mean, I could keep going, but let's move on. So, when we visited Northern Ireland, they had made quite a bit of progress. There were 2 major refurbishments of the Shankill Library and the Falls Road libraries. They had also developed the Creagh, Ormeau, and Newtown Brenda libraries. I probably just butchered those, so I'm so sorry. They also closed the Colin Glen and Suffolk libraries, but they created a brand new library that combined both libraries' holdings and a place for the staff to start new. What was going on while we were there, the Central Library had seen some refurbishments. They had a cafe, and their digitization project was just taking off. I forgot to mention, 9 of the 13 libraries flagged as potential closures have been closed. That's a lot of libraries, but you also have to remember that Belfast was completely saturated with public libraries. New projects. So to sort of end this video, let's talk about what's going on now. They've got new builds for Chinster, Ardeny, and Lisburn Road libraries. Mobile libraries has become a big thing for Libraries NI. They just recently, this past year, released 18 new mobile libraries, which is a big deal for a lot of rural areas, but also for people who live near libraries that have closed and who don't want to make the long journey to another library. And they've also started extending their outreach services. They set aside £200,000, I believe, or £20,000, oh, I can't remember now, but they set aside quite a chunk of money to take a large number of staff members, a large number of full-time staff members from the actual libraries and send them out to do outreach services. So in light of the library closings, they really have tried to make the transition for people as easy as possible and make sure that even though these libraries are closing, people are not losing services. They've also increased their home call services, which is a part of their outreach program, but this is specifically for people who have mobility issues, disabled or elderly, who maybe couldn't even get to a library even if they lived close to it. So I just wanted to take a moment to talk about the impressions I got from the staff of the public libraries. For the most part, I think the sentiments regarding Libraries NI were sort of on the one hand and then on the other hand kind of statements. On the one hand, I heard a lot of things about sort of having to let go of control. Staff members and the libraries didn't really have a lot of control over things like programming, standardization, just things like that. There wasn't that control, but at the same time, it allowed them to focus on other things that were important. If they wanted to change anything that they did, there was a lot of red tape that they had to go through just to make anything happen. I also didn't really realize right away how completely different this system is. Having an umbrella organization for the entire Northern Ireland public library systems is just, it's hard to find the equivalent of that here in the United States. I mean, the best I can relate it to is a really large city with a lot of branches, but even that is not an accurate description. Because if you go to the Libraries NI website, that is the website for every public library in Northern Ireland. That is amazing to me, that they have the organizational capabilities to not only keep track of services, managing the budget, but also sharing services and an online collection, the digital collections. And not only that is different, but also how important the culture is to them. The culture is just completely unique, and the history of the Troubles it's not really even history. It is still present in a lot of people's minds, and librarians that we talk to were working in libraries during the Troubles, and for them it is a big part of their lives. And not just the Troubles, but also the Irish culture has seen sort of a revitalization. Um, and I think it's wonderful that Libraries NI wants to support and be a part of that with all of their programming that they offer. Okay, well that's it. I hope you enjoyed the presentation about Libraries NI.